This is Amanda Freeman. I am going to be talking a little bit about the 3 different projects that we had and what I've learned from them. So I am a photographer and I'm an advocate, and through this course I've been learning history through the stories that we don't usually see in our textbooks. Each of my 3 projects, the Unspoken documentary, the Jacob Riis analysis, and the Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee infographic that we had to do, they all help me to see how the past still affects us today, and especially as Indian people, what I took away most is how personal history is and how it still affects us in not only like daily life, but mentally, emotionally, traumatic experiences, not just the dates and laws. And it's a lot about the lived experiences that we still go through these days that shape us into who we are, and what our ancestors went through that shaped us into who we are. The more I studied and learned about certain things, the more I realized how much I could relate to these 3 assignments. So in both the Unspoken and also Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, I saw the same story told in 2 different ways. Forced assimilation, violence, and a lot of resistance. My grandma, Charlene Freeman, her maiden name Charlene Graham, she went to a boarding school, and I put the photo here for you to see. I've known about boarding schools my entire life, about a lot of these things, but watching the Unspoken brought back a lot of the truth that these schools were never about education. They were about erasure. They tried to break our people, our Native children. They tried to break them physically, spiritually, emotionally, culturally. The film reminded me that the pain we carry is still happening. It's still a part of our lives. It's carried with our grandparents, and it's a generational trauma that we can break away from, but it's really relevant still to this day. And Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, we see that resistance clearly in Sitting Bull, refusing to surrender even when it cost him everything. Charles Eastman is forced into a role that tries to make him the exception, but it only highlights the larger pattern. These aren't really different stories. They're the same system playing out in different ways in different times. So all 3 of the assignments were really about listening to the people who lived through injustice, whether it was Native children, immigrants, or survivors of the violence today. Each project taught me to value bottom-up history. That means looking at the people whose stories usually are ignored and understanding the systems that shape their lives. Jacob Riis did that through his photography. He didn't have money or influence, but he had the truth. He walked into places others ignored and forced the world to see the suffering right in front of them. The same spirit is in this photo that I took that I'm going to show here. This is the mother of Wilma Acosta. Her name was also Wilma Acosta. She's holding her daughter's missing persons flyer that I created, and we were doing a march through downtown Portland. Wilma Acosta, her daughter, was later found dead in the Willamette River, and the police didn't do nearly enough to search for her, to help us, to advocate, to find advocates. They didn't do enough. So in this picture, that's what I want to show, is you could kind of just see the pain and the injustice in the photo. So studying historical context helped everything kind of click into place. The Dawes Act was a sort of land policy. It was part of a larger system designed to break apart Native nations. Boarding schools, relocation, broken treaties, they all worked together. And during that same period, immigrants like Riis were documenting how industrial growth in cities created extreme poverty. Even when stories seem different, they often share the same root causes. government control, economic exploitation, and racism. Learning how all these pieces connect made me realize that history has a pattern, and once you see it, it's nearly impossible to unsee it. So why this matters to me. So everything I've talked about, the policies, forced assimilation, the silence, the poverty, the resistance, it's all still a part of my family story. The way that my grandma was taken from her home and put into a boarding school, the silence that shaped how we grew up, the systems that are still failing us, when our women go missing, when we're told to be quiet about it, when we're expected to explain why we're hurting. This matters to me because I've lived the impact of these histories, and I see it in my communities every day. What we studied in this class is history, yeah, but it's also ongoing, and it's still relevant today. It's personal, and it shows up in how we heal, how we fight, and how we carry those who came before us. This work, my art, my advocacy, the stories that I tell, it's like I'm refusing to let any of this be forgotten. I don't need textbooks to validate what I know and what my family's lived through, and I'm excited to learn about history and U.S. history, and I've learned a lot in this course, but I'm here to also learn about my history in a way, and I have. I feel good about being able to be the voice that can answer for all of my ancestors that weren't able to speak up and answer for themselves, and that's why it matters to me. I feel like I'm still their voice. So, with all of that being said, this history lives on, not just in books or lectures, but in the lives of every person it affected, in the families that were broken, in the voices that were silenced, in the land that was taken. We carry it ourselves, and we walk with it. We speak because they couldn't. What I've learned is that the truth has power. It doesn't fix the past, but it refuses to lie about it. And that feels like remembering for me. Makes it feel like people are remembering my family, our ancestors, and it's what keeps us seen. They did try to erase us, but we are here and we are telling these stories, and I'm here with my ancestors. They always have my back, and I feel like I learned to like history in this class, and I know that I wasn't the best student in showing up, but I do know that I will take a lot with me to my next courses, and also continue to educate myself on not only my history and my people's history, but U.S. history as a whole.